All right, here we go. It's time. Welcome again to Good News in Parks. Welcome to autumn. It's a beautiful time of year, and we are once again really excited about the good news we're going to bring you today. First of all, I want to thank Ashley Jones, Ryan Buer, and Joseph Strand in the audience for submitting today's quotes. Ryan and Joseph both submitted the Ziegler quote, so we took that as some good news we needed to share. We hope everyone who attended NRPA, whether it was live or virtual, had a really great experience. It was so good to see people again. For those who we spoke to in person, it was just so uplifting to meet you and hear what Good News in Parks means for you. We've said it many times, this show is uniquely for you and about you and with you and by you, and also for anybody that wants to learn and advocate for the many things that parks do for communities. Before I turn it over to my esteemed co-host, Jody Adams, who will introduce our guests and share some national news, I have some good news that I know Jody is too humble to share herself. She doesn't know I'm doing this. At NRPA, Jody received a President's Award from the American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administration for her role in bringing the only show dedicated to parks and recreation, Good News in Parks, to life. She is more than a co-host. She's a great friend and an incredible parks advocate as well.
Thank you.
And her enthusiasm and hard work is instrumental in bringing you the guest lineup we have every episode. So congratulations, Jody. Didn't mean to surprise you with that one, but we're all about good news, and that is some great news. Take it away.
Well, totally shocked. And thank you to the colleagues and, of course, Michael McCarthy, who brought that forward. Again, it is all about us, and it is for us and by us. So, Anne Marie, great. You're such a cohort with this show. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, let's get rolling here. I want to introduce our esteemed guest, and I'm so excited to have these friends on today. Jill Gellner, Director, City of Roseville, California, Parks, Recreation, Libraries. She also is a fellow member of the American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administration. She's a certified Parks and Recreation executive with NRPA. She also, prior to joining City of Roseville, I know this is still in your heart, she managed as CAPRA accredited and gold medal Grand Plaque recipient, Johnson County, Kansas Parks and Recreation District. Jill, we are so happy to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Chris Bass, Director of City of Douglasville, Georgia, Parks and Recreation Department. Doesn't that sound great? He just was appointed. That's why I'm saying that today. 2021 NRPA Robert W. Crawford, Young Professional Spotlight Award recipient this year. Council of Accreditation for Parks and Recreation Agencies. He's currently a CAPRA commissioner. He's also president-elect of the National Park and Recreation Ethnic Minority Society, currently serves on the Georgia Recreation and Park Association Board of Directors. Chris, can you add anything else? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jody. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. Oscar Carmona, Director of City of Raleigh, North Carolina, Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources. Certified Parks and Recreation Executive with NRPA. He also has been a CAPRA visitor and NRPA Chair of the CPRP Exam Committee. Remember, let me remind you, Chair, that is a big job. Oh my gosh. Oscar, that's a heavy lift. First Latino Director to serve as Director of City of Raleigh Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department. And also, prior to joining Raleigh, he served as Assistant Director of City of Dallas, Texas, Parks and Recreation. And he also, know that they were CAPRA accredited, and Dallas was a Grand Plaque recipient of the Gold Medal Award. Oscar, we're so happy you've joined us today.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to participating with you all today.
You betcha. All right, everybody. We got some good news and national news. I've even heard from fellow colleagues, they read this article. I've got to go visit this. There is an article about paddling for success by Heidi Marks. There's a small town in Oregon Tualatin City Parks and Recreation, they hosted, and Anne-Marie, may know about this, the regatta of the Pumpkin Festival. They carve out large pumpkins and work with local farmers to make them into boats. And they actually have a lake regatta. It's unbelievable. So folks, go to parkandrecreationbusiness.com. You have got to read this article. They have over 20,000 people that come to this event, and it is amazing when you see the pictures. So I want to give a shout out to Tualatin for pulling this unbelievable seasonal event off with their local farmers. Also, Parks and Recreation Emerging Professional Leaders Program. This is in conjunction with the University of Colorado in Denver. And you can get a hold of Dr. Teresa Prinbrook on this. You just need to go ahead and Google this program of gpred.com. On gpred.com, you will find this program. It's a 3-year program. If you've been in the field 3 years, if you have a bachelor's degree, this is another level of high-level training as an administrator. So this has just come out. It will start in January. I hope you'll all key into that as a young professional. And then finally, folks, you have got to read this 2021 Emerging Engagement Report by NRPA, commissioned by NRPA. It is an unbelievable report where we're at right now in our status, but here's the deal. 4 in 5 adults look for quality parks and recreation when they are seeking where to live. This is key. And how many times do we hear the little emerging slogan? Location, location, location. So we know that as parks and recreation professionals that that's important, but please, I would definitely take a look at that, that engagement report by NRPA. All right, panelists, let's get rolling. Okay, our audience, when talking about dynamic department performance, what does that mean to you and your department, and how are you measuring your department's performance? Jill, kick us off today with this question.
Will do. Thank you, Jody. And thanks again for having me today. This is a great question. And when we talk about dynamic department performance, let's first talk about what dynamic means. It means, to me, it means to be full of energy, full of ideas, cutting edge. So when I think of dynamic department performance, that's what I think of. A department that's high energy, innovative, always striving to be better. I think one of the main things that drives the ability for a department to be dynamic is its culture. Does the department have a culture that supports risk-taking? Is it a department that works well together, both internally as well as externally with community partners? Because we all know that we're better together, right? We can't do it by ourselves. Does the department get stuff done? To me, that's the true test of a dynamic department, is they get stuff done. And it's not necessarily the same old stuff. We're always introducing something fresh and something new. A dynamic department has to have leadership that motivates, that inspires staff to do more than even they thought they could accomplish. So just to think about being a dynamic department gets me all excited, talking about work culture. It's in and of itself motivating to me. So to talk about our organization, our Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Department at Roseville is, in my opinion, very dynamic. As you mentioned, I've only been here 2 years, but we have accomplished so much in that time. We get stuff done, even with the majority of the past 2 years being impacted by COVID. During that time, we all continued what we'd always done, but we had to start doing non-traditional services that we'd never done before. We provided different things to our community through the pandemic. And we also opened 7 new parks during the pandemic. So we got stuff done. It was dynamic for sure. You asked about measuring our performance. So to measure our performance, we utilize key performance indicators, participations, participant satisfaction surveys, revenue expense comparisons, and of course, goal setting. And just as important as setting our goals is monitoring their progress. Our leadership team sets our goals prior to the beginning of every fiscal year, and our overall department goals trickle down. So our different division and program areas obviously set their own goals as well, but they support the overall department goals. and our overall department goals support our council's priorities. So we're sure that we're all on the same page, we're all working towards the same end, and that's so important, as we all know. And we also check on the progress of our goals quarterly, so that ensures they don't just sit on the shelf. Because how many times have we spent the time to develop something and then it sits on the shelf? So we monitor our goals quarterly, we take a look at them, see how we're doing, and then at the end of the year, it's really rewarding to take a look and see on paper how much we really accomplished. We color code our goals, so if we accomplished them, we highlight them in green. If they're in progress, they're yellow. If we weren't able to get started on those, they're red. But you look at this piece of paper and you see all this green, you know, and it's really rewarding. We're like, look at what we did. We got stuff done. And lastly, department performance is directly related to available resources. So I can't stress enough the importance of understanding both your current state as well as where you want to be in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. Our department's taking a deep dive into our organizational structure to see if we're operating the most efficiently and to see where we lack resources so that we can accomplish our long-term goals. And identifying these gaps helps us set realistic goals both today and informs us what we need to work towards in the coming years. So I guess that's one more component of what makes a dynamic department, and that's being visionary, you know, looking to the future, knowing where it is you're trying to get to. So this conversation about dynamic department performance is really a good one, especially for park and recreation agencies, because we are probably one of the most dynamic fields out there. We are energetic, we get stuff done, and we're visionary. So thank you for this great question. I look forward to hearing the other panelists' comments as well.
You know, Jill, you have never shied away from improvement. You are amazing. I've watched you over the years with Johnson County and what you're gonna do and doing in Roseville. Oh my gosh, you are amazing when you line up the way that department needs to operate. So congratulations, because I know you're on fire there in a great way. I just admire your leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris, let's go ahead and let's continue on.
Yeah, so Jill really hit some great points. And when I think about a dynamic department, you know, these are conversations we had back in 2018. You know, how can we change the perspective of Parks and Recreation in the city of Douglasville? That started for us as we were going through the CAPRA accreditation process. Outside of obtaining accreditation, it really allowed us the opportunity to take a hard look in the mirror and see, you know, what are some areas of improvement and how can we really say that we are going to serve our citizens in an equitable way. So in terms of being a dynamic department, I think it's just simply saying, you know, are we doing what we say we do? Are we following our mission and our vision? In order for us to do that, we use our strategic plan in order to guide us, to measure, and to track, to make sure that we actually are following what our vision is. So we developed our strategic plan back in 2018, and it consisted of some employee input, some
That's okay, we froze up a little bit. Okay, I think we'll come back to Chris in just a moment. Oscar, can we go ahead and we'll switch over to you at this point?
Yes, definitely. And I was going to say that both Jill and Chris took my answers, and so I really don't have nothing else to say, actually. No, but really, I was very fortunate to start here in Raleigh in January of 2020, and I came into which many considered a very dynamic department to start with. You know, I was very surprised and fortunate to kind of really see all the great things that this department does for the community. And in fact, when I was working with a realtor to find a home here in the area, they also included a packet of our Greenway Trail network, as well as a lot of programs that the department offers. So that right off the bat, you know, made me realize that, you know, this is the right move for me. But to me, dynamic department performance means you're excelling in the delivery of your programs, your events, and providing those exceptional facilities and experiences for your community. Of course, it just doesn't happen automatically. You have to be able to provide your staff the tools and direction they need to be able to be successful in carrying out those duties. And that pretty much aligns with the mission of the Raleigh Parks Recreation and Cultural Resources Department, which is that we connect and enrich our community through exceptional experiences. So how do we measure our department success? Well, we actually do it through various means, including various performance measures, program evaluations to our users, park scorecards and inspections, citizen satisfaction surveys, and then also the annual employee performance planning and evaluation process. So in addition, we do have a dashboard, an internal dashboard that provides us that real-time data on certain things such as registration numbers, revenues, expenditures, year-to-year comparisons, and other data, which really helps us determine what is working and not working, and also helps us ultimately make the right decisions to ensure that we are being successful and meeting what our goals are. But of course, the main thing that also has to be something constant is a consistent communications within our organization, to make sure that that we are being successful, and also being able to communicate with the people who are taking part in our programs and enjoying our facilities, because that feedback is very important to us knowing, are we doing it right or are we doing it wrong? And as Chris mentioned CAPRA a little earlier. Our department is actually in the early stages of applying for accreditation through CAPRA. So that is going to ultimately demonstrate that we are meeting and exceeding those national standards of best practices as it relates to how we serve the community. So that's going to be another tool we are going to use to measure our successes. And then the last thing I am going to say is at the end of the year, whenever we do publish our annual report to the community, that's our opportunity to really kind of sell ourselves to the community and really summarize everything that we did during the course of the year. So that's always like the big pat on our back that we give ourselves as a department as a whole.
Oscar, I'm so glad you brought up annual reports. I think that's so important. You're being so transparent with the public, and it's important that you do those annual reports so they can, you not only get feedback, but you're really telling your story, and it's current, it's relevant, and people really know and can stay up with your department besides what you do weekly, whether it's social media or other communications. But great idea on that report. Chris, we're back to you. If you'd like to make some final comments, go for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I actually came in the office to make sure I had a stable connection. And
no problem. And that's what's important about this show.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we developed our strategic plan in order to really provide a platform for us to benchmark and check our progress and make sure that we are doing what we say we're doing. And that was developed using 4 strategic initiatives: employee excellence, building a community relationship, equitable opportunities for all, and cultivating an innovative culture within our department. So that strategic plan is a guiding tool for us. Like I say, it helps us measure our success and to make sure that we are following our mission and our vision.
It's fantastic. You 3, that's why you're on this show, because you are the leaders. You're in the best of the best bottom line category. Thank you so much. Great job. And Anne-Marie, I'm going to hand it over to you for our first poll. We're already there.
We are already there. Time just flies on this show. It's always amazing how fast it goes by. So you've heard some great suggestions from our panelists on how they measure success. We want to hear from you in the audience. So our first question for you today is, which of the following do you use to measure success in your department? This is multiple choice. You can check all that apply. Is it positive comments that you hear from the public? Is it the positivity and tenure of your staff? The ability to procure funding, park usage data, the equity of parks across the city, township, so 10-minute walk criteria, parks per capita, however you're measuring the equitable distribution of parks across your entire area, ratio of revenue to operating expenditures, overall community engagement, or something else? And again, we always put that something else answer in there. Zoom limits how many responses we can put in here. So we obviously can't think of everything, but we do want to know if there's something else that you guys are using out there to measure success. Go ahead and check that box. And if you would, share that with us in the Q&A so that we can share those with the audience as well. So we're getting some really great responses here. It's interesting to kind of see the line move across the different answers as you guys vote. Some very popular ones, obviously, some not so popular ones. So go ahead. We're going to give you about 5 more seconds here to vote. So if you haven't voted, please jump in and do. We're going to end the poll here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go ahead and share the results with everybody. Positive comments from the public, by and large, number one, that is no surprise, but really evenly distributed across. Janine in our audience said her something else for Los Altos, California is city council feedback and approval. That's a great response, Janine. Thanks for adding that. So thanks everybody for taking part in our first poll. We'll have a couple more for you a little bit later in the show. And for now, I'm going to turn it back to Jody for another question.
All right. Oh, wow. This is so exciting. All of the information we're getting. And these polls are important because we're putting them into best practices. We're actually going to be putting them all together. And Anne-Marie, you and our production crew and everyone's working together on that to put those all together for us in the future to put out there. Bottom line, here we go. Question number 2. On our next special edition of Good News in Parks episode, that will be on October 21st, we are going to discuss in depth professional credentialing. And you've all asked for this several months now, and we're going to hit it hard on this special edition. You on here today are all credentialed, either CPRPs or CPREs executives with NRPA. As a department director, discuss your views of various professional credentialing supported or required by your department. Chris, let's lead off with you.
Yeah, so this is a topic that we discuss a lot in our agency. Most of us have the CPRP or CPRE, and then you have specialized certifications like the AFO and CPO and CPSI, which are great credentials. But as we continue to advance in this field, I think we have to rethink how we go about considering credentials for Parks and Recreation agencies. One of the conversations that we've been having here lately is we need to tap into some other credentials that aren't necessarily associated with Parks and Recreation, but will help us advance our communities and this profession. For example, 68% of the world population will live in urban communities by the year 2050. We have to start thinking about that in Parks and Recreation, and we have to find credentialed employees that can help us serve our citizens considering urban communities. Whether that be some type of urban planning certification through the American Planning Association, or some type of urban planning credential or some type of training. We have to start thinking about things like that. I can tell you that there are a lot of grant funds that are left on the table that Parks and Recreation agencies are able to take advantage of, but a lot of times, specifically in smaller agencies, we don't have that grant writer that can write those grants. We don't have those staff that have experience with grants. So I think that's another type of credential that we have to consider for the future in terms of how we can really provide services to our community. So whether that be some type of grant writing certification or credential, it's just something that is not necessarily Parks and Recreation related, but it'll help us within our specific communities.
You're so right, Chris. And we've got some unbelievable guests that are going to talk about also volunteer administration credentialing. So a lot of departments are getting into credentialing their volunteer management, the way they're going to do that, especially with the shortage of our staffs and our recruitment out there. So a lot of great things coming forward that we're going to get more and more information out. Thank you, Chris. Oscar.
So thank you, Jody. So I've been very fortunate to work in organizations where departmental leadership have, encouraged and supported, staff going after credentialing, primarily it's been, CPRP and CPRE opportunities. But as part of Raleigh Parks organizational excellence, we encourage our staff members to pursue those relevant certifications and credentialing. Once again, for the majority of our staff, CPRP, CPRE, but we also have a lot of our landscape architecture and planning staff that have credentials such as ASLA, PLA, AICP, and LEED certifications. And once you kind of get into some more of the specialized fields like certified therapeutic recreation specialist, certified youth sports administrators, and then I know you all had mentioned the volunteer certification as well, which one of our volunteer coordinators also has a certification. We really encourage that because we want to make sure that our staff remain the best of the best. Although some of these credentials are not required for the positions, I feel it's important that our staff have that knowledge base and the opportunities to be considered leaders in the field and have that training, the tools needed to provide the best service to the community. So I know one of the questions was, does your department pay for credentialing?
Yeah.
And we do pay for the certification as long as it has relevancy to their current job duties. Now, if somebody wants to kind of step outside the box and get a different accreditation or credential, we'll be more than happy to coordinate with them and work with them on scheduling. But unfortunately, we'll have to just allow that to be on their own dime. But we really are big advocates for professional growth and development, and we'll keep on championing these opportunities for our staff.
Absolutely. Well, Oscar, you definitely modeled that, and you have for decades modeled that going forward to make sure that you're relevant, you're on topic, and you also are really credentialed at the highest level. You have always been there. Thank you so much. Jill, let's turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Jody. Well, I absolutely concur with Oscar and Chris. We are very supportive of professional credentialing for our staff here and have numerous credentialed and certified staff, including, like others, AFOs, CPOs, certified pesticide applicators, CPSIs, certified arborists, and of course, CPRPs and CPREs. I find great value in professional credentialing. It's my desire, and I heard this before too, to create in-house experts amongst our staff. We want to provide opportunities that promote our staff's success. And by supporting them in this way through credentialing or certification, I think we're preparing them for future opportunities and setting them up to be future leaders in our profession, which we all want to do. And hopefully we're setting them up to promote them within our own department. But sometimes those opportunities are few and far between, as we all know. So if we promote someone, if we get them certified, if we promote their professional growth and they promote to their dream job at another agency, I still feel like we've done right by that employee and we've done right for our profession. So we absolutely support that. One of the things I love about certification is that it inspires and actually requires continual learning. I became a CPRE for no other reason than I knew it would do just that. Keeping your certification requires that you continue to learn. And that's always been one of my mantras, never stop learning. And don't get me wrong, having my certification ended up paying off big time for me in the long run in a way that I didn't even envision when I obtained my certification. You mentioned that prior to coming to Roseville, I spent many years at the Johnson County Park and Recreation District. And when that director position opened up there, a CPRP or CPRE certification was highly desired. And already having my CPRE opened the door for me to move into that role. And I'll forever be grateful for that. I wasn't scrambling at the 11th hour going, oh my gosh, I need to get certified, just do it. So I strongly support credentialing in whatever field will make you the expert where your passion is. I served for several years on the NRPA certification committee and certification board. So I look forward to next month's program. And I also have to take this opportunity to encourage everyone that's watching today to seek out those opportunities and to never stop learning.
You are so right, Jill. It's funny you mentioned that about the position. When I was director of Springfield Greene County, we actually put that part of our job description, preferred, CPRP or CPRE. What that came down to, if there was a tie on 2 candidates,
Yeah.
that was the tiebreaker.
Yep.
And then, of course, we went to the higher credentialing. So you had 2 great candidates. They matched everything. They were perfect fits, but that was a key cog in the end analysis of the
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
So you pointed out a very good point there. All right, let's move on to our second poll. Anne Marie, it's back to you.
All right, absolutely. And Jill, that next show is going to be next week. It's 1 week from today.
We're rolling.
Share the word with everybody because we are excited and we're looking forward to hosting a big group. It's going to be an awesome show. Okay, so for our next question, we keep hearing about data. Everybody's getting data, using data, wanting data, data. So what we want to know from you guys is, launch this poll question, what data are you lacking to properly measure success? Is it park usage data, data on park satisfaction, data on diversity, equity, and inclusion, user demographics, or something else? Now, there's only a few answers there. We know there's probably a lot of other data that you guys want. So if you choose something else, let us know what that is. Put it in the Q&A, share that something else. I did want to add on our last question, Leslie added that participation numbers was something that she uses to measure success. So I wanted to go ahead and share that with everybody. So go ahead, lots of voting still going on. We're going to give you a couple more minutes here. For those of you, I see 5 people wrote something else. I want to see what that something else is. Please share that in the Q&A. You just have to click that little box down in the bottom bar that has the 2 sort of talk boxes in it, and it'll open that up and you can put your put your answer in there on what other kind of data that you're looking for. All right, so we're going to end the poll in 3, 2, 1. Couple little last minute ones there. Let's share the results. No surprise, DEI data is number 1. Demographics, not too far behind. We had a couple folks that said something else. Janine added neighborhood breakdowns is data that she's looking for to help her measure success. So if you guys think of anything else while we're doing the rest of the show, please add it. But we're going to go ahead and launch our next poll. And this one is about education. As Jill mentioned, education is a big part of, ongoing credentialing, keeping credentials. So what we would love to know from everybody is if you could attend an education session or webinar on any topic, what would your top choice be? Is it DEI, grant writing, promoting intergenerational play and recreation, maintenance of your infrastructure or parks, recycling programs, using technology in parks, or something else? There's that something else again. So if there's something else that you guys would like to learn about or you feel is missing out there in the education world, please let us know what that is. Voting is going crazy. I wanted to add also on the last question, Larry added the influence of tourism development that your parks and program encourage. That would be great data to have, is understanding how tourism and how your park is affecting tourism numbers. Thank you for that. That's a great answer. All right, so voting's slowing down a little bit here. Oh, nope, there we just had a little flurry. So we're going to give you about 5 more seconds here, and we're going to end this one in 3, 2, 1. And let's go ahead and share. This one is all across the board. Interestingly, by a slight margin, using technology in parks was our most popular answer. Right behind it, very close behind, DEI. And then grant writing, intergenerational play and recreation, maintenance of infrastructure. I see a couple of something else there. Janine adds credentialing, career planning. That would be a great webinar topic as well. So if you guys think of any others during the show, please go ahead. It is never too late to share your thoughts with us. Go ahead and share those in the Q&A. And that's our polls for this show. So thank you everyone for participating. And Jody, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Absolutely. All right, on to question number 3. When considering community-wide equity of facility and program offerings, how is your department engaging your community to make those decisions? What is your biggest challenge with community engagement? And we'll go ahead and start with you, Oscar.
All right, thank you, Jody. This is a very timely question because I know as far as overall Raleigh city government, community engagement right now is a very hot topic, and it's one that we're really trying to wrap our head around. But As far as our department goes, I feel we have a pretty thorough community engagement process as it relates to park and facility planning. As far as equity and facility offerings, and when we're doing those planning efforts, we utilize a 10-minute walk model from the Trust for Public Land.
Mm-hmm.
And we also use our county's Human Services Community Vulnerability Index to provide us information on where gaps exist within our services and our facilities. The next step is engagement with the community to find out what they need and what they want. Our goal is to improve and reimagine community engagement efforts. And through our work with the city's Office of Community Engagement, we hope it'll encourage active participation in decision-making, dialogue, and public policy. So this past year, our department adopted what we're calling the Public Participation Playbook. We use that as our how-to guide for inclusive and equitable community engagement. And it really allows staff the flexibility and focus to focus on alternative means of engagement described in the playbook, whether it's online engagement, special events, or other ways to meet people where they are at. It's rather than setting out a prescriptive format, with just your usual, certain number of mandatory public meetings. We show up where maybe they may be. We may be outside church. We may be outside the grocery store. We may be at a school. So we're getting away from that prescriptive and trying to be where the people are at, so we can kind of make sure that we're, setting the right level of engagement for the right projects. Drawing from that playbook, we make sure that individual project engagement plans ensure that the techniques that we use are tailored to the needs and preferences of each unique community that we're working with. And as far as challenges go, it's always getting 100% feedback. No matter how hard you try, there's always going to be segments of the population we're unable to reach despite our efforts. So in addition to that, the other challenge that we have is we get so many ideas and input sometimes that it's almost impossible to incorporate them all. But as far as programs and services, we make sure we have suggestion boxes that are at our facilities. We have open houses where we invite the community to come in, see what we offer, and then also get feedback on what they may want us to offer. As we all know, there is not a one-size-fits-all program model within your city or even within a district. So we have to make sure that we're providing our community what they want to be able to be, repeat and customers and advocates for your park system.
Well, and Oscar too, we all have to be great listeners.
Yes.
That's the number one is if you're a good listener, you're going to get that feedback because people know that you are there and you want to know. Great input. Jill, next to you.
Jody, real quick, if you wouldn't mind, Oscar, Janine asked, what is a 10-minute walk model? Could you explain that?
Great.
Yeah, sure. And I'll try to do my best on that, but the Trust for Public Land, on their website, they have a model that tries to ensure equitable access to parks. So the tool basically is that if you're considered an equitable organization, every citizen, resident in your community should be able to access a park or a park facility within a 10-minute walk from their home. If that's not possible, then that means you're not providing equitable services or facilities to your community, and those are the areas that you should focus on.
Excellent. Great job. You know what's great about that? There are so many national partners that have really gotten on the bandwagon of that being their measurement. So I'm really glad you brought that up, Oscar. Thank you so much for that explanation. Jill, next to you.
All right, thank you. Well, we all know that community engagement is so important, but I can't think of community engagement without thinking of the TV show Parks and Recreation and this episode where Leslie Knope was so pumped and so excited for this public meeting, and you know how she got so riled up and then no one shows up, or one or two people show up, that's happened to me. Yeah, I think we've probably all been there one way or another. So letting people know about those opportunities is so important. But luckily here, our Roseville residents are very engaged and we do a lot of public outreach. Obviously we include the public in our discussions regarding park planning. to learn what they want to see in our new parks. And in the last 2 years, we've even taken that a step further, and we started seeking the public's input on something as small as playground replacements. When we're replacing the playground in a park, we offer a couple of options on our website. We inform the neighbors that they can go online and vote for their favorite. And we've really gotten some good response from that because they feel like, again, we're engaging them in the process. As we're planning for a new destination playground in one of our larger parks, we reached out to the children in the community to get their ideas, because who are we building it for, right? So let's let the kids decide what they want on their playground. Right now, we have a ballot issue to increase our funding within a specific lighting and landscaping district. So I can't tell you how important it is to educate the public about that ballot issue. Let them know why the funding is needed and what it will be used for. So a lot of public outreach and educational meetings on that. We're currently developing an overall department master plan, and we all know how important community engagement and public outreach is in that process. So we're in the midst of it right now. And just the past few weeks, we've had so many public meetings. We've had meetings with stakeholders, with the general public. But as we talk about the biggest challenges of public engagement, again, I think one, it's making sure the public knows about the opportunity, that they're aware that they can provide that feedback and that we do listen. And then second, just people's schedules. You know, everyone is so busy. It's sometimes hard for them to fit something like this into their schedule, or perhaps it doesn't rise to the top of their priority list. So I think it's for that reason we've had greater participation in our virtual public meetings that were forced upon us by COVID. But it's much easier for a resident to jump on the computer than to drive across town for a meeting. Although virtual meetings don't allow the same interaction as in-person meetings. So I can honestly say I don't like them as well, but what I do love is the amount of people that we're getting engaged through that. So I think it's an option we'll probably continue post-pandemic because we've had such a great turnout, and I would envision us having in-person as well as online options as we move forward in an effort to reach as many people as we can. So again, I'll just close by saying community engagement is critical, you know, especially as we're striving for community-wide equity in our facilities and our programs.
You know, you have a dynamic leader. You're quite a duo with Tara G. You're a senior planner, you know, past president of California Parks and Recreation Society. But I've watched you in action. I've been at your department. It is amazing. And you have so much support from your city management, because obviously you've had in city management, you also have past park and recreation directors and involved. So, you know, I just want to say to you, you know, you're right. I don't believe, and I don't think any of us believe, virtual is not going away. Actually, I think it's improved because people have more of a variety of ways to give input. So it's a good thing. We've learned a lot from this pandemic. So Jill, really good stuff, because I've witnessed it in person. Great job on that, especially on your playgrounds. It's amazing how you involve the kids. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Chris, next to you. Bring us home on this one.
Yeah, so Jill and Oscar both mentioned how important community engagement is. And I can tell you firsthand, that's so true here in the city of Douglasville. We developed a social equity plan a year or so ago in order to really be intentional about providing equitable services for our citizens. The first component was having a meeting with our staff just to gauge and see, you know, what do we need to address in terms of equity. But when we started having those community input meetings and putting those community surveys out to really find out what are our challenges in terms of equity and providing equitable opportunities, what we thought was completely different, because we actually had a chance to engage the community. We thought we had a major racial equity issue, whereas in fact, our actual underserved populations were senior citizens, individuals with disabilities, and teenagers. We wouldn't have been able to find that information out just by talking to staff. The community was able to provide us with that input. So now we're able to develop goals and objectives to address those particular communities. How are we going to be able to offer services for individuals with disabilities? How are we going to make sure they're accessible? How are we going to engage our senior citizens and our teens? We wouldn't be able to do that without that community engagement. In terms of identifying challenges, I think the biggest thing for us is we are constantly talking to citizens that use our parks, people who are engaged on our social media. But the challenge is we can't reach those that are not. And that's the goal. We want to reach those individuals that are not coming to our parks in order to really understand why and what it is they want. We're trying to find ways to identify that, whether it be partnering with HOAs or other housing communities in order to really gauge the community. But I think once we get there, we'll really have a true social equity plan, and it really position us for the future in terms of providing equitable services. It really sets us up for the future. But without all, like Oscar mentioned, without getting all of our citizens' feedback, it's just going to continue to be challenging. So we got some strategies and trying to address it, but it's going to take some time. But it's definitely transitioning from a trend to a movement in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Boy, you summed it up. It is definitely a movement. You're seeing more and more equity plans come out through the department. And again, Chris, you and many others are definitely addressing this along with Jill and Oscar. It's wonderful. And we're going to keep bringing that to you, folks. We're going to keep addressing this and putting it on the forefront. So stay tuned. All right. Oh my gosh, we are headed to our most exciting part. Here we go. Let's look at these departments and let's recognize the staff.
Absolutely. So this is one of our favorite segments. We say this every time, but this is the opportunity that we give all of our panelists to recognize a person or team that they work with for accomplishments. We all know nobody can do it alone. And there are some amazing folks out there that we never get to talk to, but we want to hear about. So let's go ahead and kick this off. And Oscar, we're going to start with you.
Great, thank you. So yeah, so when I received this inquiry about which staff member would I like to recognize, I was banging my head because there's so many. But then I realized over the last year and a half or so, our team has really stepped up the entire Raleigh Parks Recreation and Cultural Resources team. So this is who I'm actually giving kudos to today. So over the last year and a half during the COVID pandemic, I could not be prouder of the level of work and the service to the community that the men and women of the Raleigh Parks Recreation and Cultural Resources Department have provided. Every single work group in the department has pivoted and transformed how they carried out their services in an unknown and challenging environment, even up to the day where we're having to deal with labor staffing shortages. From early on in the pandemic, we had staff out on the parks and greenways acting as park monitors, reminding users of social distance, providing information on health and safety tips, giving out hand sanitizer, face masks, and as well as information on services and facilities that were impacted by COVID. And I just also want to kind of touch on a couple of items that we were able to accomplish over the last year and a half during challenging times. So our community centers and our staff basically became virtual learning hubs when the local school systems went 100% virtual, and a lot of children didn't have places to go. So we had virtual learning hubs at all of our community centers. We were one of the few agencies in the area to actually offer summer camp last summer. And also we're able to actually have our aquatic facilities open for use. So we were very proud of that. One big thing that we did, which was almost unheard of to do it virtually, but we actually were launching our new recreation management software, and it was done 100% virtually. So,
wow.
That took several months. We did not have the vendor come down at all or do anything in person. It was all done virtually. And we feel that was a big success right there. A lot of our facilities became COVID testing and vaccination sites in partnership with the county and the state. A lot of our community centers were early voting and day of voting sites. So that was another thing that we had to pull off during 2020. Our greenways and our outdoor natural areas experienced the highest usage on record. Some locations had about a 300% increase from previous highest numbers. And then through various partnerships with other social service agencies, our staff were able to provide over 20,000 meals to summer camp and remote learning participants in 2020. We also partnered with the police department and other community organizations to do community events where over 2,500 families were served meals, and also over 10,000 face masks were distributed. And this was during the heart of the pandemic. As far as programming goes, our staff were able to create virtual programs and activities through our Play Anywhere program. They hosted drive-through holiday events for Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and also created very fun self-directed activities in parks across the city so people can actually go out on their own, participate in a self-directed leisure activity program, and still experience our parks and facilities. But after all is said and done, despite all the challenges of COVID and the resulting labor shortages, staff continue to serve to the best of their ability with a passion and drive that makes them true parks and recreation professionals and public servants. So I want to give a shout out to the entire Raleigh Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources staff team for everything they have done and continue to do.
That is amazing, Oscar. And I will tell you, we continue to hear from folks in the audience who are not in Park and Rec, that the number one thing that they have learned from the show is all of the additional things that Park and Rec does for the community. I mean, there are so many people out there who are not part of this day to day that see it as that beautiful green space that we go, and they don't realize all the other things that you're doing. And it's amazing to think that, you know, when COVID started, other businesses had to deal with it by shutting down, and you know, you all had exactly the opposite happen. Everybody's coming to parks, and
That's right.
usage just is exploding. And on top of all that, you still continue to offer all of these services. So way to go. That is absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to Jill. Tell us about Kathy.
Well, I'm thrilled to tell you about Kathy. I first want to also give Oscar kudos. I loved your story. You know, I know all of us have similar stories, but I just never cease to be inspired by everything that I hear that agencies have done to get us through COVID and every day. And certainly our entire team here at Roseville is outstanding as well. And so when you gave me the opportunity to recognize one, I was just like, Oscar, how do you choose just one? We all have such amazing teams, but the timing of this show was perfect because it gives me the opportunity to single out and recognize Kathy Barsotti. Kathy's our department's Parks, Recreation, and Libraries manager, who after more than 30 years in our department is retiring on December 17th.
Oh, wow.
Kathy began her Park and Rec career as a sophomore in high school right here in Roseville as an aquatics aide and a cashier. She worked her way up to lifeguard and swim instructor to assistant pool manager and then to pool manager. You know, she was a part-time teenage employee who came back as an adult then to work full-time and become a leader in our organization. I mean, what a success story. Isn't that what we all strive for? And that's been Kathy. During her early full-time career, she was an aquatics supervisor, and she was instrumental in the opening of our Roseville Aquatics Complex, which is our premier aquatics facility here in the city. She then promoted to superintendent, increased her skill sets, and learned how to run a fitness center when we opened the Roseville Sports Center. She has her footprint over so many things in our city. She oversaw youth, teen, and adult programming, and all of these experiences prepared her for her promotion to Parks, Recreation, and Libraries manager. And in this role, she was asked to put together a team and create a vision for events at our soon-to-be open downtown town square, with the goal of revitalizing our downtown and attracting people to the downtown area. She met and exceeded that challenge. And during the past few years of her career, she's increased her knowledge even more as she oversees our 3 libraries and the Maidu Museum. Kathy has never stopped learning. Talked about that so much today. She shared how rewarding it's been for her to see our residents enjoy the experience experiences that we planned for them. And she says that it's nice when they express their appreciation. However, just watching a child realize they learned how to swim, or watching families experience the magic of the season at our holiday events, or helping people improve their health, that's enough for her. And that fills her cup. So our mission here at Roseville Parks, Recreation, and Libraries is to enhance lives and the community by providing exceptional experiences. And there is no doubt that hundreds of thousands of people have had exceptional experiences due to Kathy's good work over the past 30+ years. That's why we do what we do, is to make a difference. So mission accomplished, Kathy. Thank you for spending your career with us.
Oh, that is amazing. I know you guys are going to miss her.
We absolutely are.
Congratulations, Kathy. All right, Chris, take us home. Tell us about Chris Cartwright.
All right. Outside of him having a great first name, Chris has really played a major role in building the Douglasville Parks Recreation Department. So just to give you some history, the city acquired the West Pines Golf Course several years ago, and it was not well received by a lot of the citizens. When Chris came and took over the golf course, he immediately wanted a seat at the table in terms of bridging the gap between parks, recreation, and golf. Chris is a golf professional by trade, but I can tell you, Chris is a true parks and recreation professional. And as I watch and see how he transitioned, the way he brings certain conversations to the table in terms of equity, it just amazes me when you think about where we were when we first acquired this course to where we are now. A great example is Chris recognizing that the sport of golf should be accessible to more than just one particular demographic. So Chris has partnered with the Georgia Association of Golf to provide equitable programs like the blind training for the individuals that are blind and teaching them sensory skills through this specific organization. Trying to find ways to get women more engaged in golf, and get them out there to the course to provide training opportunities for them. It just shows that he recognizes what we're trying to do in terms of the bigger picture of parks and recreation, and using golf as a platform to provide those services. So Chris is definitely one that I can recognize. We have a great department, a ton of great staff here, but the way he leads, I just felt it was perfect for me to recognize him during this time.
Wow, that is fantastic. And I love that he immediately set out to share golf with other people and other demographics. And so how does the community feel about it now? A little bit more open, or?
Oh, definitely. And I'll share with you, since the pandemic, we know that parks have become even more essential. We know they're essential, but now people are recognizing. But I'll tell you, the golf community really was busy during the pandemic, and the biggest concern initially was revenues in terms of, how it impact tax dollars. But now Chris has turned it around to where the course is paying for itself, and it's amazing that he's been able to do that by maintaining the quality of it. A lot of times municipal golf courses are those that you just kind of, you don't hear a whole lot about. They're just there. But no, this is a premier golf course, and his leadership and expertise has really transitioned it. We've hosted PGA tournaments here at West Pines Golf Course, and we're putting in bids for some future tournaments. So it's really become one of our flagship facilities within our park profile, and it's because of the leadership of Chris Cartwright.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, Chris. And that's just an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that. Chris, thank you for sharing, Chris. All right, very good. Well, we are going to take a few audience questions now. We have one, and this is a really interesting one from Larry in the audience, who says one important certification that we haven't talked about yet is the therapeutic recreation certification, serving people with special needs. How are you using that in your departments? Does anybody want to speak to that?
I can chime in. I know I did mention in my answer, we do have a very dynamic specialized inclusion recreation program. One of the great things is they really also look at it from a medical perspective, but we do have several staff members that are both CTRS and LTS certified. And so the group has a lot of specialized summer camps where they really meet the needs of a lot of children in the community that otherwise would not be able to, feel at home in a regular summer camp, setting. But our team takes it very seriously. They got great leadership in that area, and I think almost every single employee has that CTRS or an LTS certification. So we're very proud of what they do, and of course, I had also failed to mention we have a lot of other certifications as well with arborists and everything like that. So there's just way too many things to cover on that. But as Lawrence mentioned, yes, we do have several staff that are CTRS and LTS certified.
Great. All right, we have a few more comments from the audience. Leslie wanted to congratulate Jody on your President's Award and for your support to the Women in Recreation reception.
Thank you.
Barbara says, thanks, Jill. Congratulations, Jill, on your new job. We know that you will be amazing from your friends at Wichita Park and Recreation. Janine added that we also need social scientists to address social equity and cultural issues. Great point, Janine, absolutely. And then Karen added on our data question, that data that she is looking for would be on impacts of park and conservation areas on carbon emissions and sustainability measures. That is a great one, absolutely. So thanks on that. And I'm just going to take a minute here to share, every time we do our survey at the end of the show, we ask anyone in the audience if they have good news of their own they want to share. We would love to hear that. So you'll see that when you get the survey. I'll show you the link to the survey in a minute. Everybody who attends will get an email where they can take the survey, but we know a lot of you guys are really proactive. You like to take that right away. So we'll show you that QR code in a moment that you can scan here from our screen. But I do want to share this story with you that came from an audience member about a beautiful new sports and recreational complex in Kearney, New Jersey. Check this out. It's beautiful. Their primary objective was to create a modern artificial turf sports complex. But in the process, they also included new stormwater management controls to minimize the impact of frequent flooding at the complex and in surrounding neighborhoods because the playground or the whole area there is right on a nearby marsh. So they get some pretty substantial flooding until they added that system. And then while they were at it, they built 2 field house buildings, a playground, a volleyball court, an outdoor fitness area, tennis courts, and infrastructure to support all of it. So restrooms and parking and all that good stuff they have to keep people at the park for long periods of time. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's truly an intergenerational area. So congratulations, Kearney. I also wanted to let you know, Kearney folks, that I looked up a YouTube video on mispronounced New Jersey towns so that I would not mispronounce your name as Kearney. If, however, I should not be getting my advice from YouTube, and we all know I probably shouldn't be, and I mispronounced it anyway, I am very, very sorry about that. We also wanted to share this information with you. Next week, 1 week from today, 10/21, 1 week. You got to join us, folks. This is going to be a great one. It is special edition month. We have a great one for you. As Jody mentioned, career development and credentialing. This is a fantastic topic. Tell your teams, tell everybody in your organization that is, looking to move up. We all know that, once people get a taste of the park and recreation career, they're in it for life. So this is a very helpful session. We have Julie Boland, who's going to be joining us from NRPA, Dr. Nathan Schlomleffel, and John Prue from, he's an MWR program analyst. So they're going to have some fantastic information. So please join us. You can register there at playcore.com season 2. We'd love it if you would share the news. We'd love to keep growing the good news with our audience. And at the top there, you can see the scan where if you want to go ahead and take that survey for today's show and get that that out of the way. You need to do that to get your CEU if you're interested in the ISET CEU credit. So please do that. And we are looking forward to seeing you guys all next week. And I am going to turn it over to Jody for final comments today. Jody, take us out.
Well, you know, Emery, I also want to just mention, you know, I just have a question real quick, if you don't mind to finish up on.
Yeah.
You all are very inspiring. I've watched you over the years develop as professionals, and I can say that obviously I'm older, but the bottom line is, how are you staying motivated? And how are you continuing to motivate your staff? Because I've watched you through mentoring programs. I've watched you lead your departments. Please comment on this, because I want professionals out there to watch you. You're amazing. Please, someone just chime in on this. How are you staying motivated, and how are you motivating your employees in your departments?
Well, Jody, I'm happy to chime in on that, and I'll just speak from the heart. I believe to my core in what we do. You know, I just think what we do is so important, and the services and the experiences and the places that we provide to the community. I mean, imagine our community without it. You can't even do that. You can't even imagine it. So I just believe in it so strongly that to even have the honor of having a piece of that over the course of my career is motivating to me. And honestly, I drive home from work every single day feeling like I made a difference. You know, even if I'm not the one out there that's building the playground or providing the program anymore, you know, that I still am a part of it. I'm a piece of that. And when you look back on your career, if you feel like you've made a difference, you're going to retire a very happy person. And I think that's what we all want. So that's what motivates me, is just knowing that we truly make a difference.
If I can add, just personally, I've shared the story how a lot of us are Parks Recreation kids, but that is not my reality. Growing up, I didn't have access to Parks and Recreation amenities and programs. So that's what keeps me motivated, because I want to make sure that we're able to do that for other kids that may not have access. But as far as our team, one of the things that has really motivated our team here in Douglasville is that simple word of essential, knowing that they're essential. When the city manager sent out a memo saying that Parks and Recreation and Public Works and Public Safety are essential services, that right there alone motivated our team. That allowed them to have that pride in their work and make them go even harder for our communities. So, you know, she did the work for me in terms of showing that our team is essential and really showing them how important they are to the community.
Yeah, and I'll also add that for us, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is a very difficult time, like I said, with employees being burnt out just because of having to carry on extra duties. We try to share with them every time we get kudos from the community. I mean, we try to celebrate successes every week, whether it's, you know, a thank you note we got from a mother because their child had such a great time at summer camp, or congratulations on a new park project or facility project. It's beautiful. I mean, we share that with our entire department because we just let them know at the end of the day, you know, you all are playing an integral part in bringing success and celebrations and improvements to people's lives. So just think about what we just received. You know, this is why you're doing what you're doing, and things are eventually going to get better for us all. You know, we're almost there.
Well, you know what? Thank you for sharing your hearts, because we are just people. And I tell you, you are true leaders. And from us at Good News in Parks, Anne-Marie, I'm sure you'll join me. You are the best of the best, but you have totally stayed grounded, and we've needed you. And thank you for coming on the show today, because we've wanted you on here for a long time. And you did make some sacrifices to be on the show because you're so busy. But thank you so much for your passion and leadership, you guys. Way to go. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we will see you next week, only 1 week. I can't wait till we all get back together again. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. See you next time.